Om Shri Sairam, offering our most humble pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagwan, dear Swami, respected elders and dear brothers and sisters from across the globe, and of course, my partner for today's satsang, brother Sai Prakash.
Sairam, Sairam Arvind, Sairam to everyone.
You know, when I think of this opportunity that we as members of Team Radio Sai have got to be participating in this virtual global satsang,
Right.
I'm reminded of a beautiful incident that happened possibly in the late 1940s or early 1950s. You must have heard of Kannamma,
Yes.
Mrs. Karunamba Ramamurthy.
The one who wrote the book Sathya Sai Anandadai.
Yes. So she noticed that suddenly the number of devotees coming to Swami was increasing.
Okay.
And she felt, what will happen to us if more and more devotees come and Swami is swamped? And the more and more devotees she was referring to was something like about 80 or 90 devotees. But more than her own self, she was concerned about how will future generations get to experience Swami's love and grace and blessings and proximity. So one day she made courage and asked Swami himself. She said, Swami, in the future, how will people get to know you? How will people get connected to you? How will people experience proximity to you, Swami, when so many people have started to come already? Now, she was, I'm sure, asking in terms of the next 5 or 10 years.
Right.
But the reply that Swami gave her, Swami told, in times to come, people will sit in Puttaparthi and tell my stories. And people from around the world will listen to the stories and develop love for me and become closer to me.
Beautiful.
You know, when I think of those words, it feels extremely humbling that Swami has given this opportunity as listeners, as participants in this global satsang. Swami, we are ever grateful to you. Team Radio Sai offers its humble gratitude to you. And with that, we would like to begin today's satsang.
Today's discussion, today's satsang is going to be a very, very challenging one because as you know, we have selected the topic, who is Sai? Now this topic, who is Sai, is akin to the question, who is God? And if you look at this question, who is God? This question has been at the heart of man's quest since millennia. From the time man started looking up to the night sky, from the time he started looking at the sun, the moon, the forest, the mountains, the volcanoes, he started wondering, is there a power that controls this universe? Is there a God? So he started automatically asking these questions. Is there a God? If there is a God, how is he? Is he a he or she? To start with, possibly. And then he started attributing several aspects of nature to God. In fact, there is this beautiful discourse which Swami gave in the year 1991. It is the second discourse in the Summer Showers series where it's called Bharatiya Culture. And Swami beautifully, step by step says how man started seeing God in the sun. And then man started seeing God in the trees and in the cow. But then slowly he started saying that God has attributes. So he started attributing attributes to God.
Qualities.
Qualities. So he said God, to be God, should be omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient. So he gave him a name, Vishnu. Vishnu is the one who is omnipresent. He gave him the name Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who has Sakala Ishwaryas, all the forms of wealth.
Interesting.
Who is shining. So man gave God a name, man gave God a form. So he said God should be most beautiful. So the mother should be so beautiful. So he gave God a female form with a lot of beauty. God should be majestic. So he gave God that form with all power. So on one side, as man started attributing names and forms to God, he started worshipping these forms. So in his worship to God, he started contemplating on ultimate purity. He started contemplating on ultimate bliss. He started contemplating on the truth. Now while this was going on one side, there were a set of other people who asked this question. They said, see, we don't know whether God exists. Okay, you people are worshipping nature, that's all right, you can do it. But we are not sure whether God exists, but we are sure of one thing, that we exist. So they say we exist, and they see themselves, they they know that this body exists, but on sincere inquiry, what they realized is they cannot be adequately defined by this body. They started realizing that this body changes. I mean, for example, this body is not the same as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
In fact, Swami would say that there is a child, then
Exactly.
the father, then the grandfather,
Right.
and based on profession. So, who are you actually?
Exactly. So that question, it keeps leading to that question: who am I? Who am I? So if I cannot be adequately defined by my body or my mind or my thoughts, then who am I? There is something deeper. There is something more subtle that connects up all these external appearances. So that was the line of questioning, and that started the path of wisdom or the path of inquiry. That is the Jnana Marga. In fact, there is a very interesting episode of course, it may not happen in these times of Corona because of the lockdown, but way back in ancient Greece, there was this philosopher who was just constantly thinking of this question: who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And he was just walking on the road, and guess whom he bumped into? He bumped into a policeman, and the moment he bumped into a policeman, the policeman got wild and he said, "Who are you, sir?" He asked him, and the philosopher was thrilled. He said, "Sir, this is the answer I am seeking. If you know the answer, please can you enlighten me? I want to know who I am." So this question, who I am, who am I, this path of wisdom, this path of knowledge on one side, and the path of devotion or bhakti on one side.
Who is God and who am I?
Who am I? So these two paths have been in man's earnest quest for millennia. Now, many people don't realize that ultimately the answer for both of these is the same. Very rarely in the history of mankind we have the avatar himself coming down as a human being. And he opens up this secret box and he reveals these mysteries, divine mysteries. He opens up and he teaches us so much about himself which you can never discover on your own. Going straight to 20th October 1940, when young Sathya was going to school, that historic day he went halfway through and he just turned back. And as he came back to his brother's house where he was staying in Orokonda, he took his bag of books and then threw it, and he said, "I am no longer your Sathya, I am Sai. Maya has left me, my devotees are calling me, I have work to do." And his sister-in-law, who was inside the house, came running out and she said, "What is all this commotion about?" And she could see a gentle halo around his face. And then the neighbors came out, and Swami's brother was not in the house. The neighbors came and they were wondering, what is this 14-year-old boy talking about? But then Swami was so steadfast in his declaration, and he said that this is the day I have chosen to declare that I have work to do. And he went to a garden nearby and he gave his first message to mankind, Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. So that we all know as the Avatar Declaration Day. But why are we talking about it today? There is a very good reason for that.
Absolutely, Sai Prakash,
Right.
because it is very less known, though it has been recorded in Satyam Shivam Sundaram and many other works. The 23rd of May is very special because it was for the first time in the history of the Satya Sai Avatar that the declaration was made, I am Sai. It came about in a very, very interesting manner. There was this person by name P.T. Krishnamachari. He is the person who had done Aksharabhyasam for Swami. In fact, for the young Satya, he had held his finger and made him write Om in the sand because they couldn't even afford a slate.
Right.
Now, this was the time when Swami had gone to Uravakonda and, in quotes, had that scorpion bite, after which they tried many remedies, the torture at Kadri, all that had happened.
Right.
After which the family had come to Puttaparthi because the mother and sisters felt, no, our little boy is being tortured too much. So, this P.T. Krishnamachari was a person whom the father, Pedda Venkama Raju, held in great reverence. So, he told him, please come and, have a look at this child, something has gone wrong. And people believe that P.T. Krishnamachari has some kind of spiritual powers also. He was a great devotee of Lord Narasimha. So, when he came, he saw Satyam, he saw Swami, and he said to the father that this seems to be some terrible ghost that has possessed him. And the only way to free him from this from this is to take him to the Narasimha Swami temple at Ghatikachalam, not any ordinary Narasimha Swami temple. Ghatikachalam, that is the most powerful Narasimha. And now, unknown to them, Satyam, Swami crept up and he said, laughing at this P.T. Krishnamachari, he said, "You want me to go to Ghatikachalam? Who do you think is there? You want to send me to me?" And laughed at him in a quite insulting manner. Right. That's what the father felt. That's what P.T. Krishnamachari felt, because he immediately left. Now, the father was already upset seeing all these things happen, and now he was convinced, because P.T. Krishnamachari has also said that some ghost is possessing my son. One Thursday morning, one morning when he was returning home, the father, he suddenly saw a huge crowd had gathered around. This Satyam was materializing candies, rice milk with sweetened rice milk. He's materializing from thin air and distributing. All the villagers, the children, the adults alike are so thrilled, and they are all receiving it from Swami. Now the father thought, oh my God, this is going too much. He saw a crowd almost about 20-30 people around his son. So he rushed and he's trying to clear them and say, let me go. They look at him and say, oh, you are the father of the bestower of boons. So they tell him, please wash your hands and feet before coming to him. This was too much for the father to take. So he picked up a stick, he went straight, cleared everyone, move out, this is my son. And looking at his son, he addressed. In fact, he didn't address the son. He addressed the ghost which he thought was possessing the son. He said, right. Hey, you there. Who are you? Are you a madcap? Are you a ghost? Are you God? Who are you? The father didn't ask his son. He had asked the spirit.
Right.
That's what he thought. The son also replied, not to the father, but to the entire mankind. Satyam said, I am Sai Baba. It was said with such composure and calmness and such authority that the father, who had come brandishing a stick, just froze there, and the stick dropped from his hand.
Beautiful.
It dropped down. And he was just standing there. Swami continued. Actually, the father, he still thought that it is that spirit that is speaking. So he said, Hi Baba, Sai Baba, I don't care. Just leave and go. Then Satyam said, I am Sai Baba. I belong to the Apastamba Sutra. I belong to the Bharadwaja Gotra. Your Venkavaduta called me, and so I have come. He prayed, and in answer to his prayers, I have come. This was too much for the father to take.
Right.
Just like the stick had dropped, now his jaw dropped. He was stunned hearing all this, Venkavaduta was a very, very revered figure. In fact, later in his discourses, Bhagwan has revealed that Venkavaduta was the guru of Shirdi Baba.
Right.
The Sai Satcharitra also records Shirdi Baba answering some legal counsel saying that his guru is Venkavaduta. And Kondamaraju was a devout follower of Venkavaduta. So all this stunned the father, and his jaw dropped open. He didn't know what to say. He gathered his wits and he said, so what do you want us to do? Swami calmly again said, worship me on Thursdays. Keep your homes and minds clean. I shall enter.
Beautiful.
It was so, the composure, the peace, the calm was so tremendous. It was overwhelming. Like they say, deafening silence, right?
Right.
The peace and calm were explosive. The father just meekly submitted. And this happened on the 23rd of May. In fact, a few days later, because, Sai Baba they didn't know who is this Sai Baba. And with some inquiries, they just got to know Sai Baba, that there's a Muslim fakir saint in Shirdi. And once they got to know that, they all again came to Swami, gathered and said, you say you're Sai Baba? What is the proof that you're Sai Baba? Simply if you say we have to accept it or what? That is when Swami smiled and said, get some jasmine flowers. And he threw those jasmine flowers, and those jasmine flowers formed a beautiful lettering in Telugu, Nenu Sai Baba.
Oh.
It is so beautiful. This is the episode that happened on the 23rd of May. And it is often considered as the first declaration.
Right.
It is not as famous as the second declaration, which was accompanied with Manasa Bhajare.
Right.
But this was the first time somebody asked Swami, who are you? And Swami declared, I am Sai Baba. And that is why, this satsang on this special day.
Beautiful. In fact, before we go on to analyze Swami's answer, when Swami says, I am Sai Baba, when you were narrating this incident, there was a thought that came to my mind that it follows a classic pattern. This whole episode follows a classic pattern of 3 stages. So one is when Swami's father comes and asks him, who are you? Okay. The second is when Swami gives the answer, I am Sai Baba. And the third is when Swami says, having known that, what you should do. So there are three terms in the Bhagavad Gita. It said Gyatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum. So the first step is to ask, to inquire, to be curious, to be interested. In fact, very beautifully in the conversations with Sai Baba, Swami tells Dr. John Hislop, interest is what you need. How do you go about achieving anything else in life? Interest. So he says that curiosity and interest is what is important. So Gyatum. Drashtum, you see, he reveals, he tells you the truth. Praveshtum is when you believe in it and when you are devoted and when you experience what the truth is said. Before we go on to these three, there is a beautiful aside which I would like to bring to your notice, because Swami's father went with a stick asking him, who are you? Are you a madman or a ghost? But in the loving God, Professor Kasturi, he records this beautiful incident where I think it should be in the late 50s, where he is sitting with Swami in the interview room and Swami is reading letters. And Swami suddenly pulls out one postcard and then he gives it to Professor Kasturi and says, read it. So he reads Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba Varu.
Varu, with a lot of respect.
With lot of respect, and then he reads the entire letter in Telugu. At the end it's written Pedda Venkama Raju.
Oh.
So it's a letter written by Swami's father to him.
Calling him with respect,
exactly.
though he is just a 24 or 25-year-old.
Exactly. And the beauty is, Swami tells Professor Kasturi, you are always wondering how my father refers to me, right? So this is how he refers to me. So the initial stage of Gyatum, when he asked him the question and when he understood who he is, he was full of love and devotion towards Swami. In 1973, there is a beautiful letter that Swami wrote, which also amplifies this whole concept of Gyatum, where you are trying to learn, where you are trying to know, where you are trying to seek. And Swami's, it's kind of the central theme of the letter is spiritual hunger.
Spiritual hunger.
Spiritual hunger. So unless you have this spiritual hunger, only that will make a response, that will bring a response from the divine. I'll just read out quickly. I quote from the letter. Swami says, spiritual hunger is the ultimate meaning of every activity of life. The dissatisfaction and restlessness that remains even after obtaining all necessities of life show that everyone, consciously or unconsciously, does suffer from spiritual hunger, and it is not appeased until the spirit within is realized. So these beautiful words, where Swami is saying, until the goal is reached, the purpose of the spiritual hunger is to take you from Gyatum, Drashtum to Praveshtum. Again, this beautiful question, this situation was faced by Arjuna. Arjuna is standing in the battlefield and Lord Krishna is giving him the entire Bhagavad Gita. He is talking to him about Karma Yoga, he is talking about duty, he is talking about Raja Yoga, he is talking about so many things. And Arjuna is completely awestruck, because all the while he thought Krishna was his friend and now suddenly Krishna is the Lord. So he is seeing Lord Krishna and then he prays to the Lord, can I have your cosmic vision? So chapter 11 in the Bhagavad Gita is all about the cosmic vision, where the Lord shows him that glorious form, the Vishwarupa Darshan, where he sees all animate, inanimate, everything part of this divine form. And the only words that come to Arjuna is, at that point he says, Divi Surya Sahasrasya. He says, the splendor of 1,000 suns.
Effulgence.
The effulgence, the splendor of 1,000 suns, and he is able to witness it because he has been granted the special vision. Now after the vision is over, Krishna comes back to his loving form and Arjuna is looking at him with a lot of love and gratitude, and Krishna just reminds him, Arjuna, it is not so simple what you have seen today. You cannot understand my mystery unless I have granted you these eyes of wisdom. These eyes of wisdom have been granted by me to you. And so what Krishna says is, by no tapasya, by no yajna, by no yaga, nothing can make you achieve this, only my grace, only devotion to me. In fact, the shloka that says, Bhaktya tvananyaya sakyam, evam vido Arjuna, gyatum drashtum cha praveshtum. The notion that you have to have has to follow these gyatum, drashtum, praveshtum. And the moment you have that devotion, only that devotion will, elicit this kind of response from me. that devotion will make me reveal my secrets to you.
You know, when you say that devotion is what makes me reveal my secret,
Right.
the thing that came in my mind is that this devotion need not be to a particular name and form.
Absolutely.
It's not as if Swami will see, did he worship me? Did he chant Ashtotram? It's not like that. I'm reminded of the experience of Shri Sheshagiri Rao. You know, he was a devout Shiva Bhakta, always worshipping Lord Shiva, and it's a experience that has been beautifully narrated by his great granddaughter. So she narrates how when they came to Parthi first time, Puttaparthi, Sheshagiri Rao did not want to come at all.
Okay.
The only reason he came was because his wife and his wife's sister, they were wanting to go, and it is not nice to allow two ladies to travel on their own. So as a gent, he accompanied them.
Especially in those years.
Those years,
possibly late 40s.
yes, early 40s, late 1945, 46, around that time.
Okay.
And also, you know, those days it would take almost 12 to 14 hours to get to Puttaparthi.
Right.
You know, you can possibly get from Bangalore to London by that time, but it takes that much time.
Right.
So when he came along with them, he said, see, we are going to be here only for a day or two at max, and don't call me to attend and see that whoever, Sai Baba or whatever, I don't want to, just leave me by myself. And that's what happened. So they had gone, and these were the Patha Mandiram days. So in Patha Mandiram, bhajans were going on, and that curiosity came. More than curiosity, now when you look back, you realize that the time had come.
Right.
When that time comes, just like Arjuna's time came, this time had come. So Sheshagiri Rao goes there to see what is happening. I'll just see what is it. It was curiosity. He peeps and just collapses. And when he falls with a thud, everybody turns to see what's happening, and they realize, oh God, there's one elderly man who has collapsed over here. They rush to him, and then his wife and sister-in-law recognize, oh, this is him. What to do? Swami is again very calm. Swami comes and says, please take him to my room. Don't worry, he'll be like this for 2 days. After that, he'll be fine. Very difficult. Don't worry, he'll be like this for 2 days. But they had no other choice as well. There was no hospital, there was nothing.
Right.
So they just trusted Swami and left it. After 2 days, Swami materializes Vibhuti, puts it in his mouth, and sure enough, he comes. Sheshagiri Rao is back in his senses, but he is a totally transformed person. He says, all my life, I have been yearning to glimpse Lord Shiva. And here it is. Here I saw. I mean, when he first peeped at Swami, what he saw was not Swami, but Lord Shiva with the tiger skin, the Chandra, the Ganga, the Trishula, the Damaru. And then the person who had said that I'm not going to stay here for more than a day or two, never left Puttaparthi after that. In fact, he became the first priest of the person whom he said he doesn't want to meet.
So the first darshan that he had of Swami was as Lord Shiva.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, see, that is the thing. It doesn't mean that you have worshipped Lord Shiva. It's the same Lord manifesting in any ways. When that yearning is there, as you rightly said in the beginning, the Jnana Marga, we think who is Sai, who am I, who is God is a Jnana Marga. But it is inextricably intertwined with the Bhakti Marga.
Exactly.
Just like the two strands of a DNA molecule.
Right.
And in fact, what about the third, you may wonder, karma. I remember in a discourse, Swami beautifully defines karma. You know what Swami says karma is? Karma is the bhakti that you demonstrate towards the Virata Rupa of the Lord.
Beautiful.
Virata Rupa is the entire society. He says the bhakti that you show to the Virata Rupa, that's only karma. So basically it's bhakti and jnana, and both are necessary in this journey of who am I or who is Sai.
So we are now going on this path of who is Sai. So what we have realized is Sai is also Lord Shiva. Now if Sai is Lord Shiva, he can also be Lord Ganesha. So there is this beautiful incident. I thought I should mention it here of Swami Amritananda. So Amritananda was a great saint and a sannyasin. And he got his he took up the path of sannyasi from Sringeri Mutt under the Jagadguru at that time. And all through his life, he has been an earnest spiritual seeker. And he has been going from holy place to place, ashram to ashram, trying to get answers for his doubts and trying to get an experience of the divine. And eventually he landed up at the ashram of Ramana Maharishi. And he stayed with Ramana Maharishi for about 17 years.
Okay.
And he is also mentioned in what is called the Ramana Gita. Because he is at that level of asking questions, and his name is also mentioned in Ramana Gita, and so he has had a lot of experience and a great spiritual seeker. After Ramana Maharishi passed away, so he was back in Bangalore, and one year he wanted to go to Sringeri to attend the Navaratri celebrations. And just as he was getting ready to go, a girl came by and she showed him the photo of Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba.
Okay.
So this must have been in the mid 50s or late 50s. And he
So by then already Swami's photo had become popular.
Yes, so he was completely thrilled. When he saw this charming smile, he said, "Who is this person? Can I see him? Can I meet him?" Automatically that heart opened up, and he knew Professor Kasturi. So when he spoke to Professor Kasturi, he said, yes, I am going to Puttaparthi, you come along. And Professor Kasturi was very cautious. I mean, here is an 85-year-old person and he's a sannyasi and I have to take him carefully. He was very careful with bringing him. The moment Swami Amritananda came to Puttaparthi, he was completely at home. He loved Prashanti Nilayam, and he says this Chitravati Ghat is as holy as the Rishikesh Ghat. And this is Rishikesh, this is Puri, he said all the holy places are here. The moment he looked at Swami, his heart was completely filled with Ananda. And Swami would often call him, Swami would give him vibhuti. And the first time he came and saw Swami, Swami said, Amrita, you have come? Amritam, Swami said, have you come? And this, sent shivers through his spine, because this is the way Ramana Maharishi used to address him. So Swami said, Amritam, you have come, the same tone, the same beautiful voice. And so then Swami started calling him for interviews, and Swami would speak to him. And one day he came and confessed to Kasturi uncle. He said, see, I have spoken to many spiritual masters, but nobody explains Advaita like Swami. Nobody explains yoga like Swami. He is the source. He is the source of all wisdom. And so he spoke to, and then one day, after several days, now Amritananda decided to stay here for Navaratri, and he just continued staying. So these interviews were going on, and one day he came out with his face glowing and his eyes, shedding tears of joy. And then Professor Kasturi knew there was something special. And then he later confided he told him, he said, see, Swami asked me this question, what did you do when you were 7 years old? So that was...
Oh, now he is 85.
Now he is 85.
78 years back.
78 years back. What is it that you did? And he said, Swami, I did the Ganapati Homam. As a 7-year-old boy, he did the Ganapati Homam for 41 days. And he did it very ritualistically. He did it with lot of devotion. And then Swami asked, what is the result you are supposed to get at the end of what is the Falashruti? He said, Swami, I am supposed to have darshan of Lord Ganesha, golden Ganesha. Swami said, did you see him? He said, Swami, I was just 7 years of age and I don't know whether it is possible. Then Swami said, no, today you shall have the darshan. And Swami granted him the darshan of golden Ganesha. Completely overwhelmed. And he came back and he told Kasturi uncle, he said, Professor Kasturi, even if people offer you the greatest palaces on earth, don't leave this place. This is heaven on earth. Don't leave this place. And he said, he is Lord Shiva himself. But he had to leave, because that is the way the Lord works. But he didn't leave before extracting a promise from Swami. He prayed to Swami that, Swami, during my Swami blessed him with that, and Swami said, definitely I will give you darshan. So, doesn't matter which form, doesn't matter which name you worship, he will give you darshan in that form and name. There's another very small incident here, there is this beautiful book, Conversations with Sai Baba by Dr. John Hislop. He has recorded the conversations. And in one of those conversations, Swami is talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swami is talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Guru, and all that. And then Dr. Hislop was asking Swami, he said, Swami, aren't we so lucky that we have God himself as our Guru? From the time of Krishna, Swami said, Krishna, time? What is time? I am Krishna. So before he could complete that statement, Swami said, I am Krishna. What is time? And he was totally taken aback by this sudden declaration. And then Swami said, yes, this is the holiest of times. He said, from the time of Krishna, the second was Shirdi avatar. So mankind had this great opportunity to learn from Bhagwan himself as to what the nature of, who is Sai, you learn from Sai himself. This opportunity was granted to mankind during the Krishna avatar, then during the Shirdi avatar, and now during the Satya Sai avatar. And Swami said, this time is more precious than the time when Krishna was on earth.
Wow.
So it's such a powerful declaration. So Krishna, Shirdi Sai, Satya Sai.
Beautiful. And we are so lucky that, along with this Jnana Marga, we have this beautiful form. Such
Exactly.
a mesmerizing form. So easy to fall in love with.
Exactly.
And you mentioned 85-year-old, Shirdi Baba, Satya Sai, all these terms, brought in me one beautiful experience that I heard from an auntie from Goa, Sudha auntie. She was narrating the experience of her grandmother.
Okay.
Her grandmother was, I think her grandmother's name is Sharada. So this granny, I'll call her granny. Granny was blessed because as a teenage girl, she had Shirdi Baba's darshan. In 1912 or 1913, she has been to Shirdi multiple times. She has interacted with Shirdi Baba. Shirdi Baba has in fact given her a couple of coins as well with Lakshmi and Saraswati. So many blessings have been conferred on her, and the greatest blessing the granny got was Shirdi Baba told her, I'm coming again. And when I come again, I will grant you darshan again.
Beautiful.
So this was something thrilling, and this was the reason why in 1918, when Shirdi Baba left his physical frame, Granny, who was a teenage girl at that time, was not very upset because she said, no, he's going to come again, he has said, and he's going to grant me darshan. After that, so many things happened in the world. The world wars have happened.
Right.
So many things happened in Granny's life also. She became a mother, she became a wife, she became a mother, and then Granny became an actual Granny.
Actual Granny.
All this while, she has not seen or heard from Shirdi Baba. A tragedy also struck her. Because in those times they used to use those charcoal stoves and all that.
Right.
Something jumped into her eye and she was blinded.
Okay.
So even as she became a granny, she became a blind granny, And she was wondering what happened. She still remembered what Shirdi Baba had told her, and she was wondering, even if he comes now, how will I see him? Because I don't have my eyes.
Right.
That is when she got to know that her granddaughter, that is Sudha auntie, was frequently going to some Sai Baba in South India. So that Sai Baba connection, she just felt, oh, okay, who is that? So she called up her granddaughter, not direct granddaughter, she's little. So therefore she called and said, why don't you take me along with you? I want to see Sai Baba, whichever Sai Baba you're saying. And the granddaughter, she was wondering now, this, at that point in time when she asked, she was a 85-year-old granny. This is the year 1973. Okay. She was 85-year-old, blind. And she was wondering how to take her to Puttaparthi, where facilities are, not so convenient for such an elderly person with this handicap. So she kept postponing, telling Granny, wait, So she was very eager to know about Swami. So whenever she could, whenever she visited her grandmother, she would tell that, Swami is like this, he has a bushy mop of hair, he's short, he has orange robe, all this. The granny was just saying, no, but I want to see him. Now, Sudha auntie was wondering, how will you even see him?
Right. Yeah.
Because even if I take you, you can't see him. No, that's what I'm describing. Finally, in 1978, Swami came to the city of Bombay, and there in Dharmakshetra he was giving darshan, and this was the best opportunity. So the granddaughter took her granny. Dharmakshetra went to there's a special line, right, for the handicapped and specially abled people. So made her sit there, and she was hoping, because they went early, that she has got the first line, Swami will come. But in no time, because Dharmakshetra is a small place, whole area got crowded, and now the granny was in some 10th or 15th line, because though she was in the first line, 20 lines have formed in front of her.
Right.
Now she was wondering what will happen. Swami comes, and when he comes in front of the granny, he tells them to part and make a way, makes a beeline to the grandmother, comes straight and holds her hand. And this granny, one hand she is holding her granddaughter who is sitting down, the other hand is in Swami's hand. She's just shedding tears. And she's telling to Swami, Swami, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful. And she's telling her granddaughter, look, he's having the same curly mop that you described. He's so smiling, he's so sweet. Then Swami told her, you have had Shraddha and Saburi. Have Shraddha and Saburi always. I am always with you. Don't worry.
Beautiful.
Swami even inquired, you still have the coin?
Oh.
She was so thrilled. Then after the darshan, the granddaughter realized, Sudha auntie realized that Granny has got back her sight.
Oh.
Granny is saying, I saw Swami, yes, he's like that only. Did you see Swami? So Sudha auntie told her that I saw Swami, but did you see Swami? She said, yes, I saw, he's like this. And now I'm able to see you, I'm able to see this. She was so thrilled. In fact, in Granny's home, all her sons, everybody, they were not devotees of Swami. But because of this miracle, everybody became devotees. And within a couple of months after that, Granny gave up her body very happily. But before that, she told Sudha auntie that, you know what? Ever since Shirdi Baba has left, within a few years itself, this being has been coming in my dreams. Ever since he has become blind, since he has become blind, I have been seeing him in my dreams. And then you described and said Sai Baba is also like this. You know, without having seen Sai Baba, I was seeing him.
Already seeing him,
but I just didn't realize that he is the same. See, even she had to ask, who is this Sai Baba? It's very important that we ask this question, who is Sai Baba? And he reveals himself.
Right.
You know, now we see that Swami, Shirdi Baba, Swami is everything. But who actually is Sai Baba? That is a question that I think is best answered in Swami's own words.
Right.
So I think, shall we play that clip?
There is a beautiful padyam, right?
A padyam, I think in the 1974 summer course.
74 summer course, I think Swami gave about 32 discourses.
Wow.
And at 32 or 33 if I am not mistaken, 32nd discourse, there is this beautiful nature in his own words.
Yeah, and the title of the discourse is Who is Satya Sai?
Yes.
And I think we will listen to that padyam in Swami's own words.
Such a beautiful padyam.
Really.
I mean, I really have not heard this padyam again. I think on that occasion, Swami actually chose to give this rarest of gifts to the students and to the whole world, of course, where he reveals, he talks about himself. And the discourse that followed, see in the padyam Swami beautifully says, he describes himself He describes all his attributes, how he looks from outside. He describes the hair, the smile, the robe, the feet, and all that beauty. But he says, this is not enough to know who I am. This is not enough to know who I am. And then he elaborates the same thing in the discourse. In fact, there are very beautiful subtle truths that Swami brings out. I have just made notes of a few points which I thought I should bring to notice. Swami says that, man's quest, as we discussed, has always been external. See, you are trying to find God from an external path, and he says that is like finding out the texture of the skin, charma. It's like charma, you are trying to find the texture of a skin of a leather bag. But he says you should follow the path of sarma, which is bliss, which is ananda. That is the inward path. He says not charma, you should follow sarma. That is one point. And then Swami says, he explains why he had to speak about himself. So in the discourse, he says, today I want to tell you why I am going to speak about myself. And he makes a very beautiful statement, I quote, he says, there is no use telling people who refuse to know. There is no use telling people who refuse to know. For people who know, there is no need to tell. Isn't that beautiful? But for people who know and yet do not know, it becomes necessary to present with what I call my visiting cards. So Swami is telling that all my miracles are my visiting cards. Me telling you about myself is a visiting card, because this forms the drashtum aspect. Gyatum, you have come to me, you are seeking. Drashtum, I am telling you what it is.
And many times we think that having received the visiting card, we know Swami.
Exactly.
It is as foolish as thinking that if I get a visiting card, I know the person. That is just an invitation, a basic info.
In fact, that is the point Swami says next. He says, I feel like laughing that even the greatest intellectuals amongst you are enamored and fascinated only by this tiniest of my aspects. He says it is like a mosquito sitting on an elephant. Like a mosquito sitting on an elephant which is of no consequence.
The miracles you mean.
The miracles is like a mosquito sitting on me. And then he says it's like a mosquito sitting on an elephant which is of no consequence. He says people are carried away by these and they forget the most sacred quality in me, which is prema. And he says prema, 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 that is what I am. That is the greatest wealth that I have got to offer. And he says through this prema you can easily attain me. And he says this prema you will get only at the lotus feet of the Lord. And in fact he beautifully describes why it is called lotus feet and all that. There is a lot of beautiful detail. I really urge everybody to read that discourse. It's a beautiful discourse.
Or even listen to it.
Yeah, there is an audio recording as well. But then towards the end, Swami makes a beautiful statement. He says, of course, he explains the word Sai Baba. Now, on 23rd May 1940, Swami said Sai Baba, and he has explained the meaning of Sai Baba several times. He says Sa plus Ai plus Baba, divine mother and father. And the same is the meaning of Samba Shiva. He says Sa Amba Shiva. Then he says, if you want, the best way to call me, he says, Shiva Shakti Atma Swarupa. So, it's a combination of adoring him in the form that he has come, Shiva Shakti, the beauty of the form, at the same time Atma Swarupa, the one who is the indweller. Aren't we the luckiest to have seen the Lord in front of us and to experience his love within us as well?
When you speak of Swami's love, it is so overwhelming because see, we call him and we know him as love, the embodiment of love. But what is so beautiful is Swami addresses us like that. In fact, if you want to see the common statement across all the discourses that Bhagwan has ever delivered, it is Prema Swarupalara, embodiments of love. Swami, I think that is the greatest gift. See, any master, any person who is at a superior position will always want people under him or her. Swami didn't have that desire at all. Swami said, why are you worshipping me? In fact, Swami said in one Guru Purnima, I think 2002, Swami said, no more Path Namaskar. Because you and me are same, why are you falling at my feet?
Correct.
That is that supreme selflessness where the descent of the Lord is for the ascent of man. But as you said, we are so focused microscopically on that mosquito that we are missing the elephant.
Right.
We are so focused on the miracles that we are missing that pure love. In fact, it reminds me of a very poignant episode that happened in Trai Brindavan, Bhagwan's residence. We were all inside for a Trai session. That day, as Swami came walking to sit on the Jula, he appeared to be a little diffident or off, mood off, something like that, you know. We were wondering what happened to Swami. Then Swami suddenly said, "Boys, you believe Swami is God?" We thought, what is this, Swami? You know, self-confidence is the first step. So we all said, "Yes, Swami." We all shouted, you know, how we used to shout when Swami, as when group comes, "Yes, Swami." The Swami seemed to cheer up a little bit. Then Swami said, "That means whatever I am telling is the truth." Again, "Yes, Swami." Everybody said, you know. And then Swami said, "All of you are divine." And you know, we were just sitting like that.
There was silence, is it?
There was no "Yes, Swami" now. You know, it's
Oh
like,
my God.
and think of it, Prakash. You know, any time in any discourse when we are sitting, most of the time I can sure speak for myself. Whenever Swami starts saying that you're divine, there's no difference. You're the spark of divine. Mama Ivamsho, Jivala. We're like, okay, these are all bouncers. You know, these are. Swami is saying, "This is my message to you," and we say, no, Swami, you tell us to do bhajan and this we do. We don't want to go evolve at all.
Right.
But that is what it is. Swami is saying that whether you ask who am I or who is Sai, both lead to the same. One is karma, one is bhakti, and both reinforce each other. In fact, if you remember, it was the 2008 Sai Sannidhi Day, 31st of August, when all of us Bhagwan students who have got the opportunity to work in Swami's institutions here with great blessings of Bhagwan we have got. When we were seated there, Swami had thrown open a session and Swami had spoken only on Advaita. Swami had said, "Why are you telling you have sorrow?
Right.
You are sorrow. Why are you saying you are happy? You are only happiness. What you're saying, I'm not able to control the mind. You're the mind. There is nothing other than you. You are divine. You are divine." Swami exhorted himself. At the end of it, you know, I just had this doubt and I ventured to ask Swami, "Swami, if I say that I am divine, I am God, is that not ahankara? Is that not ego?" Swami emphatically and instantly said, "No, that is not ahankara. That is the correct satyam." And then he added a disclaimer. He said, "But if you say that you are God and do all stupid things," and just like you're laughing, everybody in the hall laughed that day.
Right.
Swami said, "See, not like that. When you say that you are God, you have to firmly believe you are God, and before you do any action, you have to think, will God do this?" You know, I'm saying this because sometimes people ask, if I keep saying I'm God, soham, then even if I go and hit somebody, no problem. If I'm sincerely thinking soham, that thought also won't come that I'll hit somebody. I will exude that prema. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. Swami says Bharata began to look like Rama also because he was in thoughts of Rama. If we are in thoughts of Sai Rama always, how will we ever do wrong? How will we ever speak wrong? How will we ever think wrong? That is what Swami was emphasizing. Swami was saying that you are divine is good, but you should not stop just at lip service.
You should.
You need to practice it,
right.
embody it. And it was almost for me that day, the message was inquire. Through bhakti, inquire who is Sai. Through jnana, inquire who am I. And they both will culminate. And once you know, you will, the answer is one, but that one answer will answer both the questions.
Exactly. In fact, Swami always says there's no difference between bhakti and jnana. And there's a beautiful incident again recorded by Professor Kasturi. They were traveling in the car and they were going to some place, Bangalore or somewhere, and Swami told him, just stop the car, and he says, "Get one piece of rock." And he was like, "Okay, Swami." He brought a small piece of stone. Swami said, "Chee, not this, get a big one." So he brought a bigger one and Swami tapped on it and it became sugar candy. Swami said, "See, if you had brought a small one, it would be difficult to break." Okay. So he brought a bigger one, he tapped it and it became sugar candy, distributed to everybody, and then Swami said, "Any questions?" So that is when they asked Swami, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that you should always think of him. Is it practically possible? No, is it practically possible? Swami said, "No, you have got the meaning wrong. Krishna did not say think of me always
Think only of me.
think only of me.
Without
Krishna,
thinking of anything else.
without thinking of anything else. Swami Krishna didn't say that.
Okay.
He said, Krishna said that think that there is no other, there is nobody else. See, there is a very subtle difference between thinking that I will think only of Krishna and not anything else, versus I will think that there is nobody else.
That's so beautiful. It reminds me of another thing. There's this famous Neti philosophy.
Right.
It is said that in order to discover the Atman, who is God, you keep negating everything. Neti, Neti, not this, not this. Is this sofa God? No, not this. Is this God? Not this. Is this body God? Not this. Is the camera God? Not this. Everything, no, no, no. After negating everything, what exists is supposed to be the divine.
Right.
And Swami gave a beautiful twist to that. And that makes so much meaning, that is why we are so blessed from Swami. We directly get the essence. Swami said, Neti doesn't mean not this. Neti means not this alone.
Okay.
So when you say, is sofa God? Neti meaning not this alone. Means sofa is also God.
Right.
In one beautiful, truthful interpretation, Swami converted an excluding theory into an all-inclusive theory. Just like you said, it is not that don't think of anything else. Just remember there is nothing else other than Krishna.
Krishna. In fact, now that we are coming towards the end of this discussion, looking at all these points that we started off, we went in several branches, we went in several directions. But I think the main two directions was Bhakti and Jnana. Bhakti and Jnana. And yes, we have a form. Yes, we love this form of the Lord. Yes, we love to think of Him, we love to worship Him. And he says that is enough, that devotion is enough. Or you inquire within yourself, the great Adi Shankara, if he ended up writing Bhajagovindam, then what more to say? There is no difference between Bhakti and Jnana. There is a beautiful incident which I would like to end with, where we are wondering on how to contemplate on the Lord, how to contemplate on Swami. And again we turn back to Swami. So Swami had taken a set of students to Chennai, I think way back in the 80s, and all of them were sitting around Swami, and one of the student was taking Padanamaskar, and he was closing his eyes in bliss. And there was a lot of activity going on. Swami sitting on the chair, and Swami said, hey, take that box there, those sweets have to go there, those saris have to go there. Swami is directing all that, and this boy is putting his hand on Swami's feet and closing his eyes. And in between all that, Swami said, hey, kaiko sota hai? Why are you sleeping? Swami asked, why are you sleeping? And then this boy opened his eyes, and the warden came to his rescue. He said, Swami, this student, he meditates a lot. And Swami said, no meditation, he is only sleeping. Sach bolo? You are only sleeping, right? Then he kept silent, and then he said, Swami, I am trying to meditate. Swami said, see, all this is not needed. Then he said, meditation is very simple. Then he said, Swami, please tell me what is meditation. Then Swami asked this beautiful question. Swami said, do you have faith in me? Swami ke upar vishwas hai? Do you have faith in me? Then he said, yes, Swami. Then Swami said, I will tell you what is meditation. Very simple. See, if you are a devotee of Lord Shiva, you have to imagine the Jata Juta, you have to picturize the Ganga, you have to picturize the moon, you have to picturize the third eye, and if you forget one thing, you will go back again. And in
so much to remember.
So much to remember. That's why I have come with this beautiful form.
Simple form.
Simple form. He says, look at Swami's hair.
Very unique.
Very unique. He says, you can just close your eyes, chant my name, because this is what again Swami has given in Dhyanavahini. Chant the holy name of the Lord whom you love, adding Om in the front. Om, and chant the name. He says, see, this is the form I have come. Imagine my hair. Then come to my eyes. Have you seen such eyes? So Swami is describing his own eyes. See this nose. This is the divine nose. See this smile. So close your eyes, chant my name, and visualize my form. Come from the hair, come to my eyes, come to my nose, come to my chin, come to my smile. And then Swami says, straight down to my feet.
Nothing.
Nothing else.
Oh, yes, so
he
sweet.
says, straight down to my feet. Come to my feet and see my feet. Have darshan of my feet. Again go up. So hum. So hum. He says, visualize this form. Chant my name. Nothing else is required. This is the greatest meditation. And that devotion, that love if you have for the Lord, that's enough. He will grant everything else.
I think on that note, Brother Sai Prakash, we can keep going on
Exactly.
and on because about Swami, really so grateful for this satsang. We are so grateful that we have got this opportunity, and to all our viewers worldwide, two of us are enjoying the satsang, but there's a huge hard-working team behind us that has made this possible. So we are grateful to Swami for this wonderful Radio Sai team, and we played a video of we played a video of Swami telling us who he is. Now the video we are going to play is the outpouring of the heart of a devotee, where he's attempting to describe who Satya Sai is. While that first one was the Jnana Marga, this one is like the Bhakti Marga, and like this whole satsang revealed, the Jnana and Bhakti are the two strands of the DNA that will come together. So with gratitude to Swami, we will conclude with this song, very beautiful on the ears, beautiful on the eyes, definitely touching the heart.
जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयम् अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन काहे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन में क्या इस सत्य को भूल गए क्या इस सत्य को भूल गए कि साई बसे कण कण में काहे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन में काहे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन में। सबको समझाया मानव रूप मधुर धर के साई ने सबको समझाया मानव रूप मधुर धर के ये शरीर तो नश्वर है पर साई अनंत निरंतर है के बने, हर जीवन साई संदेश, हर जीवन साई संदेश, हर जीवन साई संदेश। फिर साई के दर्शन होंगे हर पल मन के दर्पण में। फिर साई के दर्शन होंगे हर पल मन के दर्पण में। क्या इस सत्य को भूल गए, क्या इस सत्य को भूल गए कि साई बसे कण कण में। काहे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन में। काहे बांधे साई को जन्म मरण के बंधन में। जो इस सृष्टि का है विधाता, उस पे समय का कैसा बंधन। उसका जन्मदिन कैसे मनाए, जो है अजन्मा नित्य सनातन। आओ साई की शिक्षा को जीवन में अपनाए। सबसे प्रेम और सबकी सेवा कर अवतरण मनाए। सबसे प्रेम और सबकी सेवा कर अवतरण मनाए। अब साई का जन्मदिन होगा हर दिन हर पल हर क्षण में। अब साई का जन्मदिन होगा हर दिन हर पल हर क्षण में। अब साई का जन्मदिन होगा हर दिन हर पल हर क्षण में। अब साई के दर्शन होंगे, अब साई के दर्शन होंगे। अब साई के दर्शन होंगे हर पल मन के दर्पण में। साई बनकर सारथी संग रहेंगे अंतर मन में। अब ये जीवन धन्य हुआ है साई के प्रति समर्पण में। अब ये जीवन धन्य हुआ है साई के प्रति समर्पण में। अब ये जीवन धन्य हुआ है साई के प्रति समर्पण